I would like to call to order the Winthrop School Committee meeting of January 23rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. This meeting is being held in the Harvey Hearing Room at the Winthrop Town Hall, and it is being televised live. May I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yep.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Here.
Ms. Barry? Here. Ms. Powell?
Here. And I have a pledge of allegiance, please. Please rise to the pledge of allegiance. Mr. Lettieri, can you lead us?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of Robert Bob Gillis. Lisa, could you say a couple words?
Sure. Bobby Gillis is an icon, was an icon in the town of Winthrop, an amazing historian, a Viking for life, and someone who spent a lot of time and put a lot of interest into our students overall. Just a great gift to Winthrop. Provided lots of pictures of our students, of our families, of our community, and he passed away very unexpectedly this week. He was also a volunteer for a lot of our athletic events, holding the chains at football games, and always being a true Viking. So the moment of silence is a memory of Bobby.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment tonight? Seeing none, I am happy to move on to our delegates and visitors. We tonight are honoring the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship recipients. This is one of the highest honors that our school is able to hand out. Lisa, can you tell us a little bit more about the background and what these students have done to achieve this?
Sure. I'm actually going to give it to Mr. Crombie to do that. He knows his students well and does this year to year. That's okay, Mr. Crombie?
Sure. So just a little bit of a background on the scholarship. The John and Abigail Adams Scholarship is a merit-based program that provides a credit towards tuition for up to 8 semesters of undergraduate education at a Massachusetts State College or university. And for this scholarship, merit is based on the student's scores on the 10th grade MCAS test. So the students that we're honoring tonight, and this is how they were eligible. So students that are eligible for the scholarship have to score in the advanced category on one of 3 high school state assessment tests in ELA, mathematics, or science, technology, chemistry, or physics. They have to score in the proficient or advanced category on the remaining 2 high school state assessment tests and have a combined MCAS score on these assessments that ranks in the top 25% in their district.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
So not all of our students are able to be here tonight for the honor. Some of our students are participating in athletic practices, although some of our events got canceled for tonight. They did have practices, so we do have a fair amount of students here tonight. So, Mr. Crombie, we have awards for everybody, and we'd like to acknowledge those. And I don't know if you want to come to the mic just to be able to share the names of all the students and be able to present those students who are here with their certificates.
What do you guys want to do in terms of handing out the certificates, or?
If they could come and let us give you a handshake and congratulations,
Sure.
that would be awesome.
So,
Mind if I videotape? Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
All right. Everything stays on my phone, doesn't go anywhere.
this would be easier actually. If I just call them up, hand your certificate, and you go through that way. So the first recipient of the John and Abigail Adams Scholarship is Kaylin Barry. Next up, we have Christian Bonapani, Michael Callanan, Elizabeth Carney, Jenny Delahanty. I'm just going to go through and recognize everyone.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect.
Juliana Demers,
Oh.
Congratulations. Anna Esuwabi. Nathaniel Evangelista. Gabrielle Golden. Daniel Guake. Samantha Harrison. Annika Holgerson. Congratulations, nice work.
Thank you.
Nathaniel Holmes.
Congratulations.
Mohammed Buhari. Elio Haisa. Gabrielle Lescay. Daniel Liberty. Zoe Long. Natalia Melnick.
Congratulations.
Nino Malari. Robert Noonan. Delia Parco. Haven Pereira. Tom Petty. Mila Pimenta. Matthew Polino. Corey Powell. And Benjamin Crew, Christopher Rainey, Joe Romano, Madison Stiglitz, and Lily Town.
Can I have a vote for a brief recess so that we can take photos?
Motion.
Second.
Oh. Second by Ms. Payne.
There you go.
And can I have a roll call, please?
Oh, yes. Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. Thank you. We will be, if you guys can join us probably in that corner of the room. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 9th, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Ms. Berry. May I have a roll call, please? Any discussion first, please? Seeing none, may I have a roll call?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve warrant SVW 23-12 in the amount of $468,422.67?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Leonard. Any discussion? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion for warrant SVW-12A in the amount of $1,250?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Ms. Swope. Any discussion? Hearing none, may I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Swope? Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion for payroll warrant SPW 23-14 in the amount of $877,924.74.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry,
Thank you.
Yep, bye, girls.
second by Ms. Petrie. May any discussion? This is what it's like in the high school halls, right? Trying to get any business done.
High school.
All right, hearing no discussion, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Abstain.
Mr. Matucci?
Abstain.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. May I have a motion for payroll warrant SPW 23-15 in the amount of $822,268.87?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Swope, second by Ms. Petrie. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Abstain.
Mr. Matucci?
Abstain.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. Can I have a motion for budget transfer in the amount of $25,014.42?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Petrie. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. Can I have a motion for budget transfer in the amount of $15,189.40?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Leonard, second by Ms. Petrie. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope? Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. We have a Buildings and Grounds request for the William P. Gorman Fort Banks PTO Ice Cream Social, and I think we can take that together with the Arthur T. Cummings PTO request for the Valentine's Social.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lettieri, second by Ms. Petrie. Any discussion? Hearing none, can I have a roll call?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie?
Yes.
Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry? Yes. Ms. Powell?
Yes. We have a subcommittee report on the superintendent's evaluation.
Yes, I'm sorry. We do have a subcommittee report on the superintendent's evaluation.
Thank you.
We met and we mapped out the process and the timeline for what that looks like. We are awaiting the superintendent's self-assessment, and then upon receipt of that and other paperwork to go along with it, I will distribute the evaluation materials to the rest of the committee, and we'll go from there.
And once you get all of that, then what do you do with it?
Once I get all the results, I then tally them up and create one master version.
That, do you write it? I mean, do you just summarize all the results
Yes.
of everybody's comments and
Yep.
then you write it? Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, and that brings us to our superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. Just a few items, just this thick, so, we've had a lot going on, so I wanted to update you on enrollment. So our enrollment is up to 1,967 students, which is great. I'll be doing some comparisons, multiple year-long comparisons for the budget presentations in the near future, so you can see what enrollment has looked like. But in my time, this is close to the highest enrollment we've had, definitely much higher than during COVID. So just to break it down, the Gorman Fort Banks, which we all know is pre-K to 2, has 498 students. The Arthur T. Cummings School, grades 3 through 5, 435 students. The middle school, grades 6 through 8, is 423 students. The high school, grades 9 through 12, 597 students. And we have 14 students who are Winthrop Public School students attending out-of-district special education placements. Just talk a little bit about some increased staffing and budgetary movement that we've had this year regarding our students and the increase in students that we've had and somewhat of a change in some of our population. So as of this week, we have 192 English language learners that are categorized as EL students. And those are students who require direct teaching during the school day from our English language learner teachers, teaching them how to read English, how to write English, how to speak English. This is an increase of 60 students from the end of last year's school year. So that's a relatively large jump, the largest we've seen in a long time. It's important to recognize that as we have, in terms of our English language learner teachers, we have 3 in total at the elementary level, pre-K through 5, and then we have 1 English language learner teacher at the middle school and 1 at the high school. Definitely creating some challenges for us in terms of meeting the needs which are designed and required by the Department of Education, depending upon how our students initially test when they come to us as a new student in the school. They are categorized as how much support they do need. So we're struggling a little bit with that. We're moving schedules around, grouping students, and in some cases having to move some class placements so we can take students as a group. But just important to note that it is tight, and We're using some of our own internal staff who are also English language learner certified to provide some extra instruction where we need it, keeping a very close eye on that. But moving forward, it may be an increased request in staffing to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our students. Another interesting note is of the additional 60 students, we received 45 of those students who enrolled with no English language at all.
Wow.
So it came to us, and that's gonna be very scary for a child. I can tell you that our staff has done an amazing job using iPad translation, Google Translate, Xerox translates for some of the language for our parents. But they've also become extremely creative with drawing things out and making charts for students and picture boards for students. What's been really kind of cool to watch is how our own students who may have been an English language learner at one point and are now either a FLEP student or just speak another language because they're from a bilingual home, how incredibly amazing they've been with their peers and just stepping up and trying to help out. We have also purchased some translators for our teachers to help our students understand the language. It's challenging, it's eye-opening, but we're super impressed with what our staff has been able to do, and also the parents. We have an English language learner group, parent advisory group, sort of like our CPAC, it's called our LPAC for our language learners, to make parents feel comfortable here within the school, and that has expanded greatly. So providing parents who are just coming into our district, or parents that have been here for a while, the support of other parents through our own staff who creates, and Laurie Gallivan does run the group, and provides that input. They talk to parents just about resources in the community, about sports in the community, places where kids can go. We have a lot of our EL students in our 21st Century After School program, and we have some additional parent support. We've also grabbed some of our parents who jump in on those support groups to provide support to our teachers and to other students. So it's been very helpful. It's a work in progress, but it definitely has put some strain on our teaching staff. In terms of how many students they have in a classroom, and with the ultimate goal of wanting to make sure that we are meeting the needs or exceeding meeting the needs of this particular group of students. So an update on that. Another interesting bit of data which is alarming to me, our homeless population. We have 42 students in the Winthrop Public Schools that are designated as homeless as of January 1st. In the 21-22 school year, we had a total of 9.
Wow.
In the whole school year. So it's important to understand that because we're only halfway through the school year. I also think for the committee to understand that homeless students definitely have needs, and those needs need to be met. And transportation is one of them. So there's lots of rules and regulations around students who become homeless. And the definition of homeless is probably not what the average person thinks. Homeless can be if you are removed or left your place of residence, maybe for domestic violence purposes, maybe because there was a fire, maybe because you couldn't afford to pay the rent. Those students can be designated as homeless. We've done a lot of outreach this year. We did find that there were certain families that did not present themselves as being homeless or identify themselves as being homeless. And for us to be able to provide them with whatever supports they can get statewide, community-wise, with all the different groups in the community, Mia More, our healthcare department, it's important for us to know that. So you'll see an increase in the cost of transportation because we are obligated to drive students and pick them up wherever they are and bring them back to our school here in Winthrop if this is where they started. So if they became homeless from Winthrop and were housed somewhere else, we're obligated to keep them safe in the school and not create another change for those students. But we've also had a number of students that have come into the community that are doubling up with family members so they don't have a place of their own. And those are also important to identify because of the needs of those families. And when I say needs, I'm talking about clothing, I'm talking about beds, daily, just ADL stuff, shampoo, toothpaste, backpacks, things like that. So we have great resources within the community, so those types of things are not at a cost to the school. But the social emotional well-being of these students is something that we have to attend to, and certainly our own staff is attending to that. So we've seen an increase in the need for our school adjustment counselors. We could never have enough to help us with this particular population and make sure that we're really servicing them to make sure that the kids, when they're in school and when they go home, they have food and they have security so that when they're with us, they're open to learning. So that's just another statistic. Another statistic that has come across that is different than last year is our foster care students, so students that are designated as being placed in foster care. Again, the district provides transportation for those students depending upon where they're placed, and then some students are actually placed in foster care in Winthrop with a family who's got housing for them, and then they're enrolling in our school because it's the choice of the child, and sometimes the Department of Children and Families does what's called a best interest determination. So we've had students who are from Worcester who are placed in a family home here in Winthrop with great support and somebody who's certified to be a foster care placement. And it doesn't make sense, although they have the right to stay in school in Worcester, when you're 5 and you're commuting an hour to an hour and a half, oftentimes that doesn't work out. Ideally, you don't want to disrupt the school placement because it is the only stability in a lot of these kids' lives. So as of January, we have 16 students who are designated as those students in foster care. As of last year, as of last year, we had 6 in the full school year. Again, identification, we have ramped it up to identify these kids because of the need to make sure that they have the general things that they need to live every day. The food, the housing, the transportation, and whatnot. Move-in students, and these are all, again, although they're budgetary, I think it's important just to keep up on sort of the changes that we're seeing. Students that have moved in with out-of-district placements, we've had a lot of students move into town. We've had some students leave as well, so there's always ebb and flow. Mid-school year, this year in November, we had 2 new students come into the district with collaborative placements, meaning that whatever town they were living with, they were attending a special education program in a collaborative. And so when they came here, we are obligated to maintain that unless we have a program within the district that's equivalent to the collaborative. In the case of 2 students that have come into our district most recently, the collaborative is the appropriate placement. And when you move from collaborative to collaborative, your tuition follows you. So whatever the tuition is in the school, a collaborative school here, we're obligated to pay that, unlike if a student was in a private special ed day school or a residential school. There's some different rules around that, where if they move to the district prior to April 1st, you do not have to pay that tuition. The sending school pays the tuition until July 1st of the next year. So Jen O'Connell is very much on top of that, but you may see 2 additional placements and collaboratives. It's important to know that we didn't place those students because we didn't have a program here ourselves, but they were kids who came in with IEPs as such. We also have had a number of students, maybe not necessarily within the 60 EL students that have moved in, but within other students who have moved into the district since September, that have moved in here with one-to-one needs, meaning they've come from another community with an IEP that says they have a one-to-one instructional aid. Typically, those are students that are extremely needy, but able to be educated in the general school environment with the support of an additional body, which is typically an instructional aid. As of right now, since September, we've had 4 students move in, and we have added those positions to support those students. And early intervention. So the COVID pandemic has backed up early intervention and services for little ones beyond an imaginable belief. So we are seeing a spike in our preschool students 3 years old coming into the district at a number higher than usual. Parents have waited for services, and for some of these little folks between the ages of birth and 3, they've received the services, but they haven't been at the quantity of hours, and Lane's agreeing with me, because she lives this life every day. But other places, other than the public school, are also strapped for staffing. So if you think about it, a child who needs speech and language, or some type of developmental therapy, or ABA therapy, until they're 3 years old, they receive that from early intervention centers across the Commonwealth. And they're struggling with staffing, so students aren't being serviced as much as we would like them to be 0 to 3. So they are qualifying for special ed services at a much higher rate than they did in the past. And once you turn 3, the public school is the responsible agency to provide those services. So we're seeing a really big increase there, and we're watching those numbers. But our preschool enrollment has been growing, and we're almost maxed out right now in terms of our special ed placements, based on the number of classrooms we have and the number of teachers we have. So we are continuously working on that on a daily basis. Negotiation update. So we have we have had 2 more sessions with our ESPs in the past month. We have another meeting scheduled for this Wednesday. Progress has been made, and we do hope to be able to conclude before having to proceed to mediation. As you remember, the school committee requested mediation. We were approved for mediation in terms of the department taking jurisdiction of the ESP negotiations, but they did ask us to continue at the table until January 30th. It is my hope that at our next meeting, we will be able to have an agreement. If not, I will update the committee and let you know if we are moving to mediation after the 30th. And we have, last group is the nurses, and they're scheduled for the 30th to finalize their negotiations, and I believe that will be the final session. In terms of staffing, just another weird piece of data, but it's important because of the impact it has on the substitute line in the budgets across the district. So far this year, we've had 10 maternity or parental leaves. Again, there were a lot last year and a lot the year before. We have a young staff, and so we're not that we anticipated 10, but we anticipated to be more than 2 or 3, which, in years past, maybe 5 was the average. And in order to pay for the substitutes to cover for those folks, most of those folks have accumulated sick time, and under family medical leave are able to take and use their sick time to stay out for either 8 or 12 weeks, depending upon on their situation. So you'll see some of our line items in the substitute salary line items are over. We know where the paternity or maternity leaves are. The high school seems to be on fire. They seem to have the most right now. And we also have 4 more that are coming our way that we are aware of before the end of the school year. So when you see some of these transfers for money going into the substitutes, it's not necessarily just individual teachers calling in sick all the time or impacts of COVID. We have had, which is wonderful, families growing within the district. Other, I already talked about that. So athletics, there were no games today due to other schools calling and canceling games before we did. We did hold practices as we saw fit. Students who could get there, if there was any issue getting there, they would not be penalized. Let me see. So just a few more updates on athletics. Track has completed their regular season, and the following athletes qualified for NEC. In the mile, Libby Connie and Ben Prue qualified. In the 55-meter dash, Dan Guake, Sophia Munson, and Delia Parco qualified. In the 300, Sean Dolan, Daniela Gomez, and Evan Rockefeller qualified. In the 600, Olivia Nystrom and Seth Sacco qualified. In the 4x200 relay for girls, Libby Carney, Sophia Munson, Olivia Nystrom, and Dahlia Parco. And for the boys, Sean Dolan, Ben Prue, Evan Rockefeller, and Seth Sacco. So they're having a very successful season. Middle school basketball is off and running for its 2nd season. We're thrilled that we're able to provide middle school athletics, even if it's not as wide array as we would like to. It's keeping our students busy. The boys currently sit at 1 and 2, and the girls are at 2 and 1. Gymnastics is led by senior captain Aliana Ronan and juniors Ellie O'Donnell and Shannon Abbott, and they're 2 and 2, which is great. Our custodians are working hard, throwing snow at the door, as long as it's not kids throwing snowballs. Boys and girls basketball and hockey are midway through their season and have all been extremely competitive thus far. I had the opportunity to watch the girls play against Beverly, and they are consistently working hard, I can tell you that. Below are the records for them. So they have power rankings, the MIAA power rankings. So for boys hockey, the boys are 8-2-1, and they are deemed number 2 in Division 4. The girls hockey are 9-0, and they are number 4 in Division 1. And also on the girls team, just a quick shout out to Emma Holmes and Julia Holmes, who have scored 100 career points each this year, which is pretty amazing. All the girls are working hard. Those are just 2 recent distinctions. The boys basketball is 5 and 7, and they are 33rd in Division 4. Girls basketball is also 5 and 7, and they are 9th in Division 4. Just a few other little quick preschool registration, which everybody always wants to know about, is opening February 1st. The window for preschool registration is February 1st through the 28th. We'll have that posted on our website. It's limited in the number of students, general education students, that we can fit in our preschool, but folks do come in, fill out their application. If there are more applications than we have seats for regular education students, we actually do a lottery, which is a live lottery where people can attend, whether it's via Zoom or in person. And in the last couple of years, that lottery has happened because we've had lots of people who would like to see their kids in the public school preschool. So more information on that will be posted on the school's website so that you are able to see that. And just let me make sure I covered everything. And I believe I have, unless there are questions.
I have a question for you on the increase in students. What is that doing to our space, and are you experiencing constraints?
We are. So we are in the process while we're, obviously developing the budget, which is off and running and has been for well over a month now. We are looking at space in the schools, and it's getting tight. We need to be creative with the space that we have. If there is space being used for offices, we have taken that space this year and plan to do more of that next year if we need to, and combining adult office space to offer more room for students. Gorman-Fort Banks is very tight, very tight. And so as we go through this process, if we need to start looking at any type of reconfiguration, that would be done, with a lot of input, because if you reconfigure any grades and move a grade to another school building, there's a lot involved in that, and there's a lot of transition involved in that. I don't think we're there yet, but we may get there. We're watching it closely. The principals have a good eye on it.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Will.
I have several questions, Lisa. If you take our overall budget and look at the special education budget, since we've been level funded for 4 years, what percentage of our budget is now, and you may not know, is special ed versus what it was like 4 years ago?
So it would depend. So the answer to your question is I don't know that off the top of my head. But it's a multifaceted question, because when you talk about special education, you're talking about staffing, the cost for staffing, you talk about the cost for materials, supplies, and programming, additional services such as speech and language. And so if it is higher, it could be higher. I've not done that in terms of a sidewalk. The difference between general education and special education is we're bound by certain numbers. For instance, for every 8 students in a special education classroom, there has to be an instructional aide present. All of our ESPs, with the exception of the 7 kindergarten ESPs, are directly tied to student IEPs. So if students move in, it's not, we don't have a plethora of aides that we can take a regular ed aide and make them a special education aide.
Yeah, when you start on this budget, I'd really
Sure.
like to know that, because I think when we can't provide other services, when we're bound to provide special ed services, and we then can't find other monies for other things, whether it's a music program or whatever.
Sure.
It
And that happens
really-
with a lot of mandated services, so if you do the history on unfunded mandates put from the Department of Education upon public school districts, when I say an unfunded mandate, if they've changed the rules on students with, EL students, and how many minutes they need to receive an instruction in English, and how many minutes they need to receive an instruction in math, when those numbers change and become higher or more time spent with a category of students, it doesn't necessarily come with a check from the Department of Education. to
Either
do
did
that.
94, 142.
Yeah, and so, we're always advocating for that to be, but the list of unfunded mandates
Is growing.
It grows every year.
Of the 192 EL students, what's the most prominent language that
Tell
they
you
speak?
that I can answer. So, the majority of our students coming in are coming in from Colombia, Brazil, and so it's the
Portuguese?
languages are Spanish, Portuguese, Albanian, and different forms of Arabic. But it's primarily Spanish. We have not a lot of dual language speaking staff members, but we have pushed for that. We do have quite a few ESPs who speak two languages, and they do a lot of doubling for us. So we may have to pull them to do some interpreting. Our secretary, Areli, at the Arthur T. Cummings School is nothing short of amazing, along with Fabiola, to do a lot of that translating for us, as opposed to having to sit there and do it through an iPad or Google Translate on a phone.
Are any of these kids overlapping in these categories?
Yeah, EL kids overlapping with special education students, absolutely. Absolutely.
So and also,
And also of the
Homeless?
60. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, and foster care?
Less with
Foster
the foster care and more with a homeless status. It's kind of all over the map.
So, wow, so that, it's so sad.
But
So-
not just the 60 additional kids that have come in, this is district-wide.
Yes.
You could have a student who is an EL student who also has special needs, you could have a general education student who is an EL student.
So when you take the 192 though, they may fall into some of these other
They
categories.
could fall into multiple categories, yeah.
And, I'll stop.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
So I was reading an article, and I don't know if it was pertaining to Boston Public Schools or not, but it was an article stating that many EL students are misclassified as special needs students because they can't be understood, because of
Correct.
the language barrier. Do we have, I assume that there's evaluations in place to make sure that children who may be very intelligent and educationally inclined but may not speak the language are getting that proper
Yeah.
push, I guess?
Yeah, so there is, and being a former special education director, this has been an ongoing equity and discrimination issue near and dear to my heart. Because we've had students who have come in who are not as fast to pick up the English language, or working with staff members who may not really understand how long it takes for an English language learner. Compromised even more so by students that are coming into this country in trauma.
Yep.
So we've had many students who have been held for 2 to 3 weeks in a detainment center, who are now being popped into a school, who probably could pick language up pretty quickly, but they're compromised by being traumatized for the last 3 weeks, and then placed in a home where they're doubling up with folks that they may never have met, because this is their temporary housing until they can find permanent housing. One thing that we have adjusted, and we're working with, it's a pilot program with the Department of Education, is to reevaluate and rebuild our MTSS process, which is the process of providing interventions for students in the general education classroom before a student ends up with a referral for a special ed eval. A single special ed eval is upwards of 18 hours worth of just direct testing, interviewing, report writing, and meetings with families to go over that. And if you think about that, if you do 100 evaluations in a school year, the folks that are doing those evaluations are being pulled out of the classroom to do the evaluations, and they're supposed to be in classrooms providing direct service. So there's not like an evaluation team that swings through, evaluates our kids. But to your point about it being, sort of a crossover, we have worked very hard to ensure that our students coming in that are non-English speaking are not sent to the referral process right away. There are students who if you are an educator, and especially a special educator, we can do, we do an initial needs assessment as soon as a child comes through the door. We've had students that have come in from other countries with nothing, no IEP, no form of testing, and they're clearly disabled, and we have to immediately, move forward and get those students at least an initial placement. But folks have, and it can be frustrating for teachers because our teachers are struggling. I mean, we have classrooms where some teachers have, 9 or 10 non-English speaking kids in their classroom of 22 kids. And that's just the nature of the grade, so we have some bubbles.
Yeah.
A lot of our students that are coming in are young. So we're seeing less students coming in from other countries at the middle school and high school level, and much more pre-K to 5. Yeah, but it's something that needs to really be considered, and it's something that you have to stay on top of and educate our own teachers on why we're not gonna just put a kid on an IEP and mislabel them as being disabled, when in fact they are quite abled, but they've been here for 20 minutes.
Right.
And they deserve that higher quality instruction, and they do pick up very quickly. Good question.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. What did you?
Oh, no, I was just thanking her.
Oh, okay. Do we have homeschool applications tonight?
We do not.
Appointments, resignations, retirements?
So we have no appointments, no resignations, 1 retirement that I will read. Hopefully I'll get through this. So, dear Lisa, it is with full and thankful heart that I offer my resignation to you and the Winthrop School Committee effective July 10th, 2023 for the purpose of retirement. Winthrop is an easy community to fall in love with, and in 2007 I did. From there until I leave, I will remain grateful for all it has afforded me, an opportunity to be a continuous learner, a doer, a team builder, and most importantly, an advocate for Winthrop's youngest learners. I will always remain grateful for the partnership of so many town departments, school district employees, and passionate families whose dreams for children resonate with me. I have been both blessed and enriched to have worked with impressively talented teachers and administrators. Silently, they have helped shape my leadership style and goals. I look forward to maintaining strong relationships and friendships with so many of them. With this letter, I am requesting that any unused vacation days be applied to the maximum allowable number, as well as sick days, for which I am requesting my buyback. In closing, please accept my heartfelt thank you for the privilege of being a part of the community in a special and meaningful way. Most sincerely, Eileen Pearson. So I think this will be somewhat of a shock to our parents, who I think probably already know by now. Eileen, I've known about this for a while. However, Eileen, in her Eileen fashion, wanted to do it her way so as not to upset the apple cart and cause confusion or anything of the like. But she and I had many discussions about the importance of the position and the age of the children. All principalships are important, but to be able to start to search and put together a committee who can help us out in finding exactly the right fit for the Winthrop Public Schools. When people leave, there's always somebody to come in and take that position, and I know that well. If I were to leave tomorrow, there'd be somebody here the next day. But we need to be mindful of what has happened in that school district, at the Fort Bank School, the work that has been done, the needs of the teachers, the needs of the students, and really reaching out to find somebody who fits on our team. And as you all know, I'm sort of, with the Bill Belichick theory of wanting to have a team that is successful, and what it takes to do that. And I think putting together a diverse committee of people who can help look at different applicants, and getting feedback from our current teachers and as to what they believe we would like to do moving forward, taking Eileen's feedback, being able to see what direction we would like to go in. So although it's always hard to say goodbye, Eileen will be an arm's length away, I'm sure, to continue to help us. She may become an EL teacher on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm not sure yet. She will definitely be missed, leaving her legacy, but always willing to help. So I'll be working with Danielle Tucker, who is currently the assistant principal of that building, which is where she would like to remain in her position, which she is extremely talented at, to begin to build that group of people to get together to start to form that committee. We have posted the position already, in hopes that we can recruit the best person and the best fit for our youngest population of students.
When is Ms. Pearson's planned leave?
So her retirement date is July 10th, which will help us do a transition. I think that will be extremely helpful for whoever comes in. I would recommend that we hire somebody as of July 1st. We're not there yet, so I'll bring that back to the committee as needed. But that will be, and that's Eileen's birthday. And in the world of retirement, retiring on your birthday makes the most sense, because if you retire the day before, you could lose a whole year of retirement eligibility. So I think that will be a good transition for her.
We certainly appreciate all of what she has done. Ms. Pearson was the principal at the school when my children were younger, and I know that she has dealt with quite a great expansion at that school, and a lot of
movement.
a lot of movement, a lot of changes,
A lot of change.
a lot of things.
I'm
going on.
wondering if she's leaving her bullhorn. I have not gotten confirmation of that yet, or her whistle. We'll have to see how that plays out.
Wonderful. We also, I need a vote for her sick leave buyback.
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Swope, second by Ms. Berry. Is there any discussion?
Just one, so she's retiring in July,
She'll finish up
so
the
this
school
would be next fiscal year's money paying for this?
Or if she were to
And
stay
buyback.
on for 10 more days, if she were to stay on after
it's the
June
30th.
30th. So she's retiring.
June 30th, right?
Yep,
And she's retiring in July?
she's retiring July 10th. So she could potentially use vacation days for that, not really sure yet.
But the payout would be in July?
Yes, payout would be her last paycheck, so July.
Oh, it would be? Because the last pay,
July.
isn't the last paycheck isn't June 30th?
No, because she's retiring, if she's retiring July
she's gonna
10th,
be a
then we
12
still
month,
owe
okay.
her
Yeah.
those official 6 to 10 school days that she's in the office, so it would be,
But for budget purposes, it's the
Budget pur- we
fiscal
would just put it-
'24 budget,
yeah, we would just put in the
Not the
fiscal year 24 budget.
right?
We just put her sick,
It would
whatever
be an
her
extra.
sick buyback is, we would just tally that number and then kind of just throw it
Make
right
sure
into
that's
that,
appropriated for that line.
yeah.
So are you asking whether we need to vote on it
Well,
tonight? or-
what I'm saying is we're not paying for it with this year's money.
No,
Right,
Right.
so do you need a vote to approve it, but not a vote to allocate it, or,
Right.
yeah,
You'd approve the buyback, but it
right.
would not hit this year's budget, it would hit
Yeah.
next year's budget. And we would obviously appropriate the money appropriately for that.
Mhm.
Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none, can I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Any other leaves of absence posting?
That was it to me.
Okay. New business, unfinished business, we have none. Public relations.
Do you want me to read those?
Sure, that would be great.
On a roll. Congratulations to the Winthrop Elk Students of the Month for December. Grade 6, Evan McHugh and Audrey Carroll. Grade 7, Macy Warstock and Clark McHugh. And grade 8, Juliet Patano and Grace Scorzella. Congratulations to high school senior Julia Holmes, who scored her 100th point last week against Gloucester. Congratulations to Welvis Acosta for being selected to the Division 6 All-State team. Welvis was recognized as one of the top players in Division 6 and voted by the Massachusetts High School Football Coaches Association. Congratulations to Grace McCurdy for being selected as Winthrop Middle School's Project 351 ambassador, which is so exciting. The Winthrop Parents Network and the Department of Early Education and Care is hosting an international night on Thursday, January 26th from 6:30 to 7:30 in the ATC cafetorium. The event is free. I highly encourage people to go. Reach out to Anita Preble at the coming school if you have any questions. It's going to be a well-attended event and really interesting happenings. The Winthrop Middle School Drama Society is performing Moana Junior on February 3rd and 4th at 7, and on February 5th at 2 o'clock in the Neil Shapiro Center for Performing Arts at Winthrop High School. The tickets are $10 general admission and $8 for students and seniors. Tickets can be purchased online or cash only at the door, so it's on the Winthrop High School website. And I talked about preschool registration being February 1st and the 28th. It's important to know that applications are accepted for children who are 4 years old by September 1st. The full-day program is Monday through Friday, 8 to 1, and just for general information, the year-long tuition for that program is $6,400, and there is a payment plan that parents can get into. There is a half-day morning session, which is Monday through Friday, that's 8 to 10:30. Cost for that program year-long is $3,300. And a half-day afternoon session, which is from 10:30 to 1. And again, that particular half-day afternoon session is $3,100. And all information about this and forms can be found on the Gorman Fort Banks School website. And that is all.
Wonderful. Any other public relations?
I would just like to once again congratulate the John and Abigail Adams Award winners. It's a really incredible accomplishment, and not only to the children but to their parents as well, because it takes a family.
Wonderful. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion by Ms. Berry, second by Ms. Petrie. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Leonard? Yes. Mr. Lettieri?
Yes.
Mr. Matucci?
Yes.
Ms. Petrie? Yes. Ms. Swope?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes.
Oh, Ms. Barry?
Yes.
Sorry.
And Ms. Wall. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you all.